Hey friendo, Steve here. Welcome back to the channel. So, one of the questions I get asked most often here at WrestleJuice, usually within the Ask WrestleJuice questions thread, is, hey Steve, who do you think's going to dethrone Roman Reigns, or Gunther, or Rhea Ripley, or Io Sky, or any of the other champions that exist in pro wrestling? And so I thought, hey, you know what would be fun? To go ahead and predict who is going to dethrone every champion in WWE. I actually did have this question this week on Ask WrestleJuice, or in the last one anyways, from Accursed Hawk. And he said, at this point, who do you realistically see ending Gunther's reign? So I've got a whole list of all the WWE champions, and I've got the people I think are going to dethrone them. And I even have runners up. I've got a runner up for each category. So let's go ahead and dive into it. First up, the Women's Tag Team Championships. We're talking about Kayden Carter and Katana Chance right now. They won those fairly recently from Chelsea Green and Piper Niven, who had a really good run on them. So I think I had a prediction for over at the Friendo Club Wrestling thing where we were predicting what the WrestleMania card was going to look like. And I think I had said at WrestleMania, I thought Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill was going to take the titles off of Asuka and Kairi Sane. I'm kind of really doubting that's going to happen at this point. I don't know when they're going to have Jade Cargill ready to go. Probably maybe after WrestleMania. In any event, at this point, I do think that Asuka and Kairi Sane are going to be the ones to take those titles off Kayden Carter and Katana Chance. I feel like Shayna Baszler and Zoe Stark are probably going to be the next in line to get a shot. They're not going to succeed, and then it's going to end up being Asuka and Kairi Sane. They've already sort of declared that that's their intention, and they're a high-profile act, so I kind of feel like they're going to be the ones to take those tag titles off Kayden and Katana. My runner-up is, in fact, Shayna Baszler and Zoe Stark. They're a really good team, and I think they're high-profile enough of an act to take those titles off of Kayden and Katana. You know, man, they're doing these like party girl gimmicks with Kayden and Katana. I just, it's not really landing for me. I'm not sure if the crowd's ever going to be into it. I feel like they're more like their in-ring fun stuff that they do is probably going to get them over more than just video of them at parties and stuff. All right, next up, let's talk about the WWE Women's Championship currently held by Io Sky. I think one of two things is going to happen here. I think either Bayley is going to take that title off of Io Sky. That's kind of like the big storyline right now. Sort of Bayley's in that kind of Sami Zayn role. She was the tribal chief of Damage Control, and now she's the Sami Zayn of Damage Control. And except in this case, I think that probably what's likely to happen is Bayley's going to end up winning the Royal Rumble and going on to beat Io at WrestleMania in a big babyface thing. The crowd still doesn't seem to be too much on Bayley's side, though. And so I wonder at what point they're going to pull the trigger on her getting jumped out of Damage Control and see if the crowd would be behind Bayley as a babyface at that point. Aside from her run in NXT and her first couple of years, I guess, in WWE main roster, Bayley hasn't been a babyface. This, like the iteration of Bayley that's had the most success, obviously, has been as a bad guy. So I think it could be Bayley. The runner-up, that's what I think is going to happen. The runner-up, of course, would be Bianca Belair. She's had all sorts of, run-ins with Damage Control. Maybe with Bayley, they'll split her off with with Sasha Banks if she ends up coming back, or maybe even Trinity. And that would sort of, pave the way for Bianca Belair. But I kind of feel like after the draft, Bianca's going to end up on a different brand. We'll talk about that here in a second. All right, next up, let's talk about the WWE Tag Team Champions, the Judgment Day. Finn Balor and Damian Priest currently have those titles. I get the feeling that Damian Priest is going to end up getting kicked out of Judgment Day. That's my gut feeling on that one. And if that happens, because right now there's no like real tag teams that are powered up enough to take those titles from Judgment Day. I don't think it's going to be DIY. And then after that, I don't know. What do you have? Like the Street Profits with Bobby Lashley? Maybe. You got Santos Escobar's guys. They're not really there. You've got the rest of the LWO. They're not really there. So this is what I think is going to happen. I think Judgment Day is going to jump Damian Priest out of Judgment Day before like he cashes in. They're going to sort of, get tired of him sort of checking everybody and coming to the defense of R-Truth. And I think those titles are going to end up with Finn Balor and Dom Mysterio remain in the Judgment Day until R-Truth and Damian Priest take those titles out of Judgment Day after he's been kicked out. You guys seem to like my fantasy booking for Damian Priest Money in the Bank in that Premium Live Event Main Events video that I did. So there's one for you as well. I kind of like that. I think look, you want to get Damian Priest over, you have him cling as tightly as possible to R-Truth because he is the most beloved person they have on the roster right now. My backup, my runner-up would be DIY. I guess you could do the thing where they win the tag titles and then somehow, some way you sort of recreate the NXT run that they had where they can then feud. I get the feeling Triple H is going to want to finish that story. So yeah, that's what I got. I got Truth and Priest taking those titles away from Finn and Dom. That's my booking on the Judgment Day. Man, I'm going out on a limb on some of these. All right, let's get back to safer territory. Next up, the United States Championship, Logan Paul. Who's going to take that title off of him? In my opinion, dude, it could be Kevin Owens as soon as the Royal Rumble. I get the feeling, though, it's going to be the returning Rey Mysterio. Whenever Rey is good to go, I think given that Logan Paul cheated to beat Rey Mysterio, I think Rey Mysterio is going to take that title off of him. If it's not Rey Mysterio, they might try to build up like Dragon Lee as a guy to take it off Logan Paul, but I feel like it needs to be, so that's like my runner-up, but I feel like it needs to be a more high-profile guy, but then I also don't see them going with like a Bobby Lashley, who, let's be honest, should be vying for the world title at this point. And I feel like the U.S. title is kind of under him, and him beating up Logan Paul, I don't know if that's really all that interesting. So yeah, I feel like it's either going to be Rey Mysterio or maybe sort of like a dark horse candidate like Dragon Lee. All right, let's move on to Gunther because this is the question that spurred this entire video. Who is going to dethrone Gunther? I have a theory on that one, and we saw it play out this week on Raw when Jey Uso came to this to save Xavier Woods backstage when Imperium laid him out. My theory right now is Jey Uso is that name to take it off of Gunther. I think they need somebody who's at the world title level. We've seen Jey Uso compete for both Roman's title and Seth's title and come up short both times, but I get the feeling they really want to make Jey into a legitimate main eventing, his name's Main Event Jey Uso, main eventing solo star. And I just look, they tried with Chad Gable, they had Bronson Reed, they had The Miz. It's all these mid-card names, but and then they even had Sheamus and Drew McIntyre, and nobody could get that title off of Gunther. So I feel like you need somebody who's kind of in that rarefied air, maybe even like a Sami Zayn could be the guy to take it off of Gunther, which now that I say that, I kind of like that, but then he's already fought Gunther. So then you're looking at Jey Uso, and I could see that match happening maybe at WrestleMania. They might hotshot it to the Rumble, but I don't think that's going to be the case. Isn't Gunther going to be? I think Gunther's going to be in the Rumble. So yeah, I kind of feel like it's going to be Jey Uso taking that title off of Gunther, maybe at WrestleMania. I think the crowd would actually go crazy for that because Jey's not really doing a lot right now, and I don't think they're going to feed him to Gunther just for him to lose. I don't think that's going to happen, but I could be wrong about that. My backup would be one of two guys, Ilya Dragunov, which a lot of people have said because their match in NXT UK is one of the best things, two of the best things WWE has ever put on, or Pete Dunne. You could go Pete Dunne. I think, didn't Walter beat Pete Dunne for that title? Maybe that was the case for the NXT UK title. So you could go Pete Dunne as well once he's done finding his name again and they're trying to reestablish him. But he's also going to be a tag team with Tyler Bates. So I don't think that's going to be the case. But if you want to revisit any of those NXT UK rivalries, Not a terrible way to go. I think that's not a terrible way to go. So, yeah, I kind of feel it's going to be Jey Uso, or I guess maybe an Ilya Dragunov. All right, let's move on to Rhea Ripley, currently like the main character on Monday Night Raw right now with that Women's World Championship. This one I'm going to go on kind of a limb here. Somebody who's actually been taking a lot of L's lately, former women's tag team champion. I'm going to say it's Chelsea Green. They haven't been able to build up anybody for Rhea Ripley. You do have certain names, high-profile names like Becky Lynch. Becky's in the stage of her career right now where she needs to be losing to Rhea Ripley at WrestleMania. She's already done everything. She's main event at WrestleMania. She's been champion. She was a record-breaking champion, I think. She's been a good guy. She's been a bad guy. At this point, Rhea Ripley's the future. She needs to beat Becky Lynch. That's got to happen. So I don't think you go with a high-profile name like that. You go with somebody who's basically the exact opposite of Rhea Ripley, and that's Chelsea Green. Chelsea Green is doing some of the best work in the brand right now, in the entirety of WWE right now. Her character work is outstanding. I could just see her as being kind of like a Carmella-style Money in the Bank winner who cashes in on Rhea Ripley after an opportune moment, and then she's the champion, and she, maybe uses Piper Niven to get, wins through her title reign before, like, Rhea Ripley gets it back. I don't know. I kind of feel like that's going down on a bit of a limb, but Chelsea Green is getting over. She obviously is incredibly talented and charismatic. Yeah, I could see that being the case. I kind of see that as like, I don't know, sort of a surprise type situation. My backup would be, of course, Bianca Belair. I still think Bianca's going to be around for another 5-10 years or so. And I think that her and Rhea Ripley are both kind of like the futures of the company. More Rhea Ripley, because Bianca's already done a lot. But if you want a situation where they start trading that belt back and forth, you get Bianca over on Raw, and she ends up challenging Rhea Ripley. And so, you've got this great rivalry where they can keep on revisiting it time and time again. They've already teased that between Bianca and Rhea, so I could see that being the case. But, regardless of what happens, it's going to be interesting to see who they line up to take that title off Rhea Ripley and what the crowd reaction is going to be like. All right, now let's talk about Seth freaking Rollins, the World Heavyweight Champion. Now he's in a bit of a predicament right now because as of filming this video, apparently he suffered a leg injury during his match with Jinder Mahal. So we don't know if he's going to be okay right as rain or if he's going to have to vacate the title or what the deal is. But let's assume that he's going to have that title. Who is going to take it off him? This is one of the more interesting ones because there's a bunch of people out there. You got Drew McIntyre seemingly trying to keep himself in the title picture, even though he's had several opportunities and he's lost them all. You've got Cody Rhodes, who, let's face it, is going to be going after Roman Reigns. You've got CM Punk, who is my favorite to win the Rumble and then take on Seth Rollins at WrestleMania. But they haven't really been using CM Punk a whole lot. I think they're sort of feeling out how that's going to go. I feel like Seth Rollins is probably going to walk into WrestleMania and walk out of WrestleMania still champion. So the person who's going to take it off him, in my opinion, is going to end up being Drew McIntyre. I think him trying to stay relevant, trying to stay in the race is going to end up benefiting him. He's going to end up with that World Heavyweight Championship. I mean, another obvious name is Damian Priest because he's Mr. Money in the Bank right now, although he can't seem to cash in for the life of him. So those are two options. And then, of course, there's Gunther. So really, there's like two runners up there. I feel like it's going to be Drew McIntyre to dethrone Seth Rollins. And hell, maybe Damian Priest will cash in after that. I don't know. But I think it's more likely that Drew McIntyre is going to be the guy to beat Seth as opposed to Damian Priest. I don't know why. I don't know how they'll get there. I kind of like what they've been doing with Damian Priest over the past couple weeks with R-Truth. And so maybe that will get him a little bit more over with the crowd. And they'll be really happy to see him actually win that title off Seth Rollins. But right now, it feels like Drew McIntyre's the guy. I don't know. That just sort of feels right to me. So that's what I'm going to say. And then after him, my runner-up is Damian Priest because he's Mr. Money in the Bank. So yeah, we'll go with that. All right, let's talk about Roman Reigns and the WWE Undisputed Universal Championship. It's Cody. I don't even have a runner-up. It's just Cody. Nobody else can take this title off him. Nobody. I thought about, hey, how cool would it be if Gunther would beat him? That's cool. Randy Orton. No, Randy Orton's at the point in his life where he needs to be putting other people over. AJ Styles, kind of the same thing as Randy Orton. LA Knight, not going to happen. Who else is there? I would love Bobby Lashley. I think that'd be awesome. But Bobby's been there, done it. Bobby's already seen all that. So, it's Cody. It's Cody. It's probably a WrestleMania. It's 1,000% Cody. Come on. Of course it is. Anyways, should I do this with the AEW titles too? That could be more difficult. There's like a million of those things, and they change hands a lot. Anyways, that's going to do it for the video. Give this thing a thumbs up if you liked it. If you didn't, then it's all good. You don't have to. Hit that subscribe button, notify bell. Till next time, we'll see you around.